Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good evening. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in good spirits, as it should, because another day above the dirt is always a blessing. Let's not forget that. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Hope this Saturday night is treating you guys in a great way as well. We got a couple of things we're going to be talking about here. There's a few things. Like I said, I'm trying something new. Something I used to do that I haven't done in a very long time because of how big these shows have been, at least when it comes to covering certain things. But there's just been a lot of things going on in the world, and so I'm trying to kind of cover as much as I can without having to do 15,000 different live shows, if that makes any sense. All right. So, we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on, and we're going to get into that conversation here very shortly. So do me a favor. Before we get into it, hit that like button down below, please, and thank you. Crush it. And honestly, not a lot of stuff going on. Not a lot today, but I'm just saying in general, I'm going to start putting in some news stuff within the lives as well. Okay? So hit that like button down below, hit that reaction button, hit that follow button if you're watching on Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble. Show some love. Hit that follow button over there. Hit that subscribe button here. Go to my secondary channel because I put up some videos over there on the secondary channel just a little bit ago. All right. One of them we are going into a deeper dive into tonight. So be sure you're subscribed to both channels because there's a lot of things I'm talking about over there and over here that I might be talking about something completely different over there than over here and vice versa. So make sure you're subscribed to both. Okay. Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Support the channel if you can. Check out my Patreon. Check out my locals. And, of course, check out PascalMerch.com. We've got some really great stuff. Really great sweaters and hoodies and T-shirts galore. So go check those things out, please, and thank you. All right, guys. I know it's a very late Saturday night show, but at the same time, I wanted to wrap with you guys. I wanted to wrap with you guys sorry. I wanted to wrap with you guys and chop it up with you guys about a couple things that have been going on. Okay, there has been a few things that have been going on, and of course, we need to talk about those things. Obviously, there has been a lot going on in the Justin Baldoni and the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds thing. I did talk about a few things, talk about something on the second channel. But on this one, I did want to share this little piece here. Like I said, we're not going into crazy stuff because we do have some serious meat and potatoes that we need to get to, which is the title you're reading or seeing above or down below. But like I said, I'm going to start adding some more types of little bits of articles and all that stuff into the show so that there's more than just one topic every single show. You know what I mean? Just add a little bit more variety, if you will. Okay. For bigger things to come, if that makes any sense. But obviously there's been a lot of things that have been going on with the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds situation. We just saw this whole thing. Unravel just yesterday. We went into this whole thing with Candace Owens dropping some things. I don't even know if what she's saying is 110%, but it was a very interesting theory that I think a lot of you guys thought was thought-provoking enough to check it out and watch. Okay. And this is, it was very interesting. Nonetheless. And I know some people feel some type of way about her and some people don't. I mean, to each their own. But it was a very interesting theory nonetheless that I was interested in chatting with you guys about. And I understand that there's more theories and all that coming out that have come out. And we will get into that very, very soon, just not on this show. But one thing is for sure. Obviously, the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively situation is just getting very, very hairy. But one thing is for sure, though. A lot of people have been wanting to know what Justin Baldoni's wife has to say about all this. I mean, she's in the middle of this too, whether she likes it or not. Let's not forget, Justin Baldoni is married. He was married during the filming and the production of It Ends With Us. And a lot of us, I mean, I'm saying a lot of you and even myself are kind of curious as to if she's ever had anything to say. Well, recently she came out and finally broke her silence, saying something that I think is very important. Now, we're going to talk about this in just a minute. But one thing is for sure, he's got his wife has got his back. And I think that's a very cool thing. It could be very telling or maybe not too. Let me explain. Let's take a look at this article. All right. So it says, wife got his back amid this whole Blake Lively debacle. And it's been, let's be real, it has been insane. Okay. Now, I know a lot of people are still wondering if Ryan Reynolds is the culprit. Is he the bad guy? Is Blake Lively the bad guy? Is Justin Baldoni the bad guy? I feel like we will never get that full, solid answer yet. I think that answer is still pending when we get all of the information, or if this actually sees the inside of a courtroom. Let's be real. Okay. If it sees the inside of a courtroom, this is going to be interesting as hell. Let me just keep it a bean with y'all, all right? But nonetheless, I've been quite curious. I was just having a conversation with some friends the other day about this. Real talk. And some of them were like, well, what? Has the wife said anything? Has Justin Baldoni's wife said anything? And then 2 days later, bang, we finally get some information. She does speak out. So she's speaking out and throwing her full support behind her filmmaker husband amid his ongoing legal battle with Blake Lively, who's accused him of SH. Of course, we got to use these code words, okay? So Emily Baldoni jumped on Instagram Friday, just yesterday, posting a family photo of her kissing Justin on the lips with her 2 kids around them near the ocean. It's right there. Oh, that's lovely, right? Family love. And, of course, showing solidarity and support. So, of course, it says right here underneath here, happy birthday, my love, celebrating the man, husband, and father that you are. I'd choose you again and again. Now, again, that's beautiful. And obviously, yeah, it shows that she's got his back hardcore, okay? Which I just said, this is just repeating what the caption said down below, saying that I'd choose you again and again. So it's not like she's sitting here saying like, nah, I have nothing to do with it, or I want nothing to do with this, or, I stand with my kids. It's nothing like that. She's literally saying, I have your back. You're an amazing husband. You're a great father. And I choose you again and again. That says a lot. Clearly, Blake's ugly accusations against Justin have done little, if no damage to his relationship with Emily. Now, here's the thing. And of course, we already know that there's a huge lawsuit going on between Justin and Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Let's not forget that as well. But I'm going to be really honest, okay? I'm going to be completely real. Let me just say this. I feel like there's always going to be until this is settled, if there's a verdict or if this is settled outside of court, which there's a good possibility this will get settled outside of court. I have a feeling that might be the case. I don't know if this is going to be that high profile like what we saw with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Maybe it will. I don't know. I don't know. But this one is very, very interesting. Okay. And again, I don't know if there's one bad guy throughout this whole thing. But one thing is for sure. There's going to be people that are going to be siding with their spouses no matter what. You got to remember, let's be real. There's a new theory that's been trickling out here in these internet streets, saying that Blake Lively, or I'm sorry, Ryan Reynolds is just a jealous guy. That's the new theory that's running amok out here in these streets. That's what everybody's thinking right now, because he saw some dailies, or he read the script, or something of that sort, and it made him feel some type of way to the point where he was like, nah, now I got to play full court press on this production, because I do not trust the vibes that these two are having, is literally jumping off out of the screen out in my face. Right? Now, the thing is this. Same thing with the wife. The wife could literally be team him because of what is being said to her. He could be lying to her face too. Now, Justin could be 110% innocent here. He could literally be that too. I just want to say that really quick. But again, the thing with this whole situation is that we're only getting a he said, she said situation. Now, I truly, truly believe there is so much more to this case than meets the eye. I really do. It's either he made a pass at her and she deflected it or rejected him and said, no, you got this all wrong. Like, this is just acting, buddy. We just acting. That's it. Or the tables turned, same situation, but the tables were turned. She made a pass at him and he's like, no, wait, whoa. I don't see you like that. No, not at all. No, I'm happily married. I love my wife, and so on. Right? I commend the wife backing her husband up. But at the same time, at the end of the day, whatever happened between these two. And if Ryan Reynolds stepped in and started to get really, whatever about it, then he butt himself into a situation. Now, the thing is, again, it really depends on what truly happened here. But like I said, I'm wondering if there's going to be more truth coming out, or this is all that we're going to get. The other thing is for sure, too. The other thing is for sure, too, here as well. Those text messages, those emails, any correspondence that happened between these two right here are going to be massively important, I think. Because I think that'll also shed a light on exactly what's going on here. Because here's the thing. If she said, hey, I'm just pumping in my trailer, come on in, then whatever she's been putting out here in her lawsuit with her allegations, all those things could fall flat. Then she could be seen as just a liar. Then that's when people start tagging on the Amber Heard title onto her forehead, right? Also, it's the same thing on Justin's part too. Say those emails and those text messages come back and it shows something completely different, a different side of Justin that we don't know about. But like I said, if his team is so willing to put that stuff out on the internet, that does tell you something for sure. But like I said, of course his wife is going to have his back. Of course she's going to have his back. For now, unless there's some information out here that shows something different. But I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I really don't. I'm leaning more on the side of I believe that this man is innocent. I believe that this man did no wrong. Or maybe he did something that was misunderstood or lost in translation. Or, everyone says he's a very good-looking man, better looking than Ryan Reynolds. Maybe Ryan Reynolds was fully aware of that, felt insecure, saw something on camera, read the script, saw, wait a second, y'all, this is too much. This is too much. There's too much romance on here. I'm not cool with that. And maybe that got him in his fee-fees, And then, of course, all hell breaks loose. And then Blake, who might be stuck between a rock and a hard place, feels like she's obligated to follow in her husband's footsteps, because if she was to push back, that could be a hell of a problem for her back in her marital home. But let me just say this too. It is her responsibility. If those theories are true, that is her responsibility to nip this thing in the bud and stop this ish from transpiring the way it has transpired. Let's keep it real. Okay? Let's keep that completely real. But again, I'm glad that Emily Baldoni stepped forward and is showing support for her husband, as she should. Okay? She should. If he has proven to have done no wrong, then I don't see then of course she's going to step forward. Unless there's some smoking gun evidence, of course she's going to hold it down for her man. And I commend her for it. Real talk. Now, real quick, Tyler, thank you so much for being a member for 23 months. Dang. Appreciate you, man. To be honest, I'm not exactly trustworthy of either Blake or Blake or Justine. Okay. I know there's typos. Okay. I know that sounds both sidesing, but I don't know. As an outsider looking in on this story, hey, listen, I don't think that there's any wrong answer, especially with the information that we've so far have gotten. You have two different lawsuits. Okay. At least two big, long documents describing their own versions of what happened on set during, before, and after the movie was made. All right. They have two completely different perspectives. I don't think that there's a wrong answer right now, because there's not enough evidence out here to literally say, oh, she's a monster, he's wrong, and blah, blah, blah. You see what I'm saying? There's no definitive answers. Yes, I know the court of public opinion is leaning on the side of, right now at least, everyone's swinging for to say that Justin is innocent. And I get it. I look at it too, and I'm like, yeah. It looks a little bit like Justin's in the clear. But at the same time, that the footage that we saw is one moment in time. Literally one day of shooting. They shot the movie for at least 3 weeks. At least. Okay? There's 3 weeks of footage. There's 3 weeks of moments when the cameras are running and rolling, and when the cameras are not rolling, that still need to be accounted for. Real talk. And when you don't have those things, okay, it's very, very interesting. Nonetheless. Now, again, like I said, this whole thing, cool. She's backing her man up, and that's awesome. When there's more information, she might not back him up anymore. You never know. Or she'll stand 10 toes down even more, because he has more scathing, more eye-opening, smoking gun evidence that exonerates him and makes him even more innocent. So we'll see what happens, okay? We will see what happens. But, of course, that's just my 2 cents on that. And, of course, she's going to step forward, and that's great, right? Now, of course, there's a lot of information that's come out, and don't worry, like I said, I'm not talking about it tonight. We're going to talk about it later on another show. Not tonight, okay? That's not what we're here for. But I know that this is something that everybody's talking about. Everybody's wanting to get their 2 cents in. Everybody's trying to get into the town square and putting in their 2 cents. And trust and believe, we will talk about those things very soon, okay? But like I said, we're here about one thing for sure, and we're going to get into that conversation right now. Now, here's the thing. Diddy is out here, at least his team is out here saying that they have proof. Yeah, they have proof that prosecution went in and actually targeted his jail cell. That this raid that actually happened was literally to go and raid his cell and his cell alone. Yes. Let me just say this. First off, well, I'm not gonna put my 2 cents in yet. I kind of talked about it a little bit on the second channel when we talked about this article specifically, but obviously there is paperwork that we're going to get into and jump into here. But here's the thing: if he is proven right, if he proves that he has proof and it's solid, there is a good possibility that this piece of work could get out. He still has to. It's not like it's not like the trial is getting thrown out. Okay. But he could literally get a chance to get out. And that's not good. All right. Because if the prosecution really did set this up specifically to get into his cell and only his cell, this could be very, very bad news bears for the feds. Long story short. But I do have some opinions, which I will talk about here in just a little bit. Okay. We do have the paperwork. I did talk about this on the second channel, the article itself, but they're like, we got proof. This whole thing was set up. They say that this raid was supposed to happen. Only just this was set up to happen, or they were planning it months in advance, only to find out that it really didn't happen. That planning did not happen months in advance. It happened right when Diddy was in there doing some dirty. Okay, let's not forget he was accused of making phone calls, sending out text messages, etc., through accounts that weren't even his, reaching out to third parties that he wasn't supposed to be reaching out to, trying to coerce or getting contact with potential witnesses and other victims while he was incarcerated, while he's being held up. Like I said, this is some crazy, crazy stuff. All right. And now they're saying that during that raid, not only were they able to find that information, but that was the evidence that they had about the legal pads, about paying people off and stuff like that. They're saying that was attorney-client privileged information. So all that stuff that was in his cell was not to be seen by prosecution. Yet they did use a taint team, literally a team that would comb through all the evidence and then make sure everything was kosher before they handed it over to prosecution, only to say that stuff that was sent to them, even though it got through that team, was attorney-client privilege. Now, I just want to remind you guys again about this. They had a very impromptu emergency evidentiary hearing. His team, Diddy's team, was sitting there saying, hey, it says legal on these pages. On this notebook, it says legal at the top of the notes. These photos were not supposed to be taken, and prosecution should not have been able to get their eyes on these documents, okay, on these notes. Of course, the judge said, hey, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it later on, right? Because we got plenty of other things to worry about and plenty of other things to argue about. But then, as the judge is in his chambers doing his thing, he suddenly realizes that, wait a second, I'm looking at the physical pages. I'm looking at the notebooks. The notebooks right now in my hand say that it's written on the top, legal. But in the photos during the raid that were taken during the raid, they don't say legal on it at all. So make that make sense, right? Now, here's the thing. They still have not explained that. The defense still needs to explain that. I don't think you understand how important it is. Because if they are lying, it's either the defense team that is lying, or it's either his team that is lying, or it's Diddy himself who's trying to lie to his own team. Again, that is important. That is some information that needs to be addressed as well. But during this time, still, they're pushing and saying, hey, look, this information, them raiding this cell, raiding his cell specifically, was a targeted attack. They wanted to get this information, and that's the only reason why they raided this jail. That's it. And now we have proof. And that is absolutely insane. Hold on real quick. Let me get this. Kwame, thank you so much. Illegal searches won't give him Brady material tapes. Yeah, I mean, obviously there won't be any tapes, obviously, because he doesn't have them. All right. Where the tapes, where's the spike stuff? Where's that evidence? That's a good question. I do not know. Hopefully they will get that stuff out and they will talk about that and address that very, very soon. But let's get into this paperwork here really, really quick. All right. So we write on behalf of Sean Combs, Diddy, to respond to the declaration submitted by the government on January 17th, 2025, and in further support of Diddy's motion for a hearing suppression, and other relief. So the declarations show that ever since the government first tried to use Diddy's privileged notes to continue his detention, it has presented a materially false narrative about how it got access to these sensitive, privileged materials containing his defense strategy and communications with his attorneys. Most significantly, the declarations reveal SDNY supervisors directed the BOP, the Bureau of Prisons, to search Diddy's unit because of its investigation and prosecution of Diddy. And they demonstrate the government has consistently monitored Diddy's legal calls. In other words, they confirm what Diddy has been arguing all along, that the search was conducted based upon a pretext, not for any legitimate penological reason, and that the investigator one, his surveillance before and during the search violated Diddy's constitutional rights and invaded the attorney-client privilege. I'm just going to say this first right now before we get into it even further. I'm going to say this. He's in jail. He is not at a mother freaking Holiday Inn. Can I just say that again? The man is in jail. Okay. So miss me with the nonsense of oh yeah, you're violating his constitution. Do you realize his rights are at a minimum while he's locked up? He is locked up for a reason. He is not at a Holiday Inn. He is not in his private domicile. He's in a cell. Anything that's inside that cell, they could get if they wanted it. They can take full possession of his stuff. They can confiscate all of his crap. It don't matter. Be like, hey, you can't have a pen. You can't have paper. You can't have nothing. That's all considered contraband now, sir. Hand it right over. It does not matter. Okay? It doesn't. He has no rights like that. So for them to sit there and try to move the goalpost like this is ridiculous. Okay? Just saying it out loud. Sorry. My inner translator had to get out there. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying he's a prisoner. He's an inmate. Inmate 137345679. Okay? He is not citizen of America right now. He is a citizen of them jail prison streets. Jeez, it's so stupid. But okay, like I said, they're going to try to move the goalpost as best as they can to try to make it so that this guy can get out. And I'm telling you right now, this is not a hotel. This is not a Holiday Inn. This ain't even a Motel 6. It is the worst of the worst. Okay, this ain't even a red roof inn. You ain't gonna see no granola bars and Cheetos, not nowhere in that place. Maybe you get some prison wine, but that's about it. Okay, so stop it already. But we're going to get into why. Again, this whole thing was targeted. So if it was targeted, so they can target anything they want. He's a prisoner, but okay. First, the declarations refute the government's repeated claims that the BOP sweep was carried out solely to further legitimate penological interests and did not target Diddy. The declarations expose that after the sweep began, it was unclear whether Diddy's unit would be searched at all. It's weird when they say unit. Moving on. Moreover, the search of that unit was carried out specifically at the direction of SDNY supervisors, including the supervisor for this case, because of their interest in obtaining evidence against the diddler. Again, they're literally saying the only reason why they did any of this was not because this thing was planned out. No, it was planned. Yes, it was, but it was targeted specifically so that they can get more screaming evidence, okay? Smoking gun evidence from Diddy. That's it. Moving on, though. Second, the declarations show that Investigator 1 became an agent of the prosecution team and worked to advance its case. He searched Mr. Combs' bunk for evidence, not contraband, and it is clear his purpose was to gather evidence for the prosecution, not police any potential threats to MDC security. Indeed, it is notable that even though he has been surveilling Mr. Combs' communications for months, to this day, the BOP has not taken any actions to discipline Diddy for any purported violations of MDC policies. Diddy has never received so much as a write-up in his 4 months in BOP custody, despite the government's repeated complaints about his alleged obstruction from MDC and supposed violation of policy. Now, if that is true, that is very interesting. That is weird, don't you think? Don't you think that's a little bit odd that if this part is true, it's thought-provoking at least, for them to be putting out in the news, and not only in the news, in legal documents saying, hey, he's been violating policies and certain things, rules that he is not allowed to do X, Y, and Z. The only people he's allowed to talk to are his kids, okay? Is his lawyer. But he's not allowed to talk to anybody outside of that ring of people, okay? And so on. It just, to me, if he was caught doing those things, that's right. Where is the punishment? If there was to be punishment, or there was punishment and we just don't know about it, right? But again, that is interesting that, hey, he was supposed to be punished. He was supposed to be reprimanded for doing those things, and he didn't get reprimanded. That's a little bit weird. I agree. That part I agree on, for sure. That is weird. Third, number 3, the declarations confirm that the government was complicit in Investigator 1's continuous monitoring of Diddy's privileged communications. Investigator 1 admits he listened to Diddy's calls, including with his counsel, and that all those recordings, including the ones with attorneys, are being furnished to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Uh-oh. Now, if that's the case, that's not good either. That's not good either. That's no bueno. Just saying. That could be very, very tough, or that could be a very, very bad thing. So again, if this Investigator 1, again, this is the same Investigator 1 that was at the raid, who went into his cell. This is what they're alleging. Let me make sure you guys see this. They're saying right here, Investigator 1's surveillance before and during the search violated Diddy's constitutional rights, right? Then they say here, the declarations show that Investigator 1 became an agent of the prosecution team and worked to advance its case. He searched Diddy's bunk for evidence, not contraband. But it is clear his purpose was to gather evidence for the prosecution, not police any potential threats to MDC security. So he was there solely, this is what they're saying. Investigator one was working for the prosecution and was there solely to get information from Diddy's cell. That's it. Then now they're saying that this same investigator one was listening in on Diddy's phone calls. He listened to his phone calls, including with his counsel. And that all those recordings, including those with his attorneys, are being furnished to the U.S. Attorney's Office. So they put all the recordings, every single one, including the conversations that he's had with his lawyers, which of course definitely violates attorney-client privilege. They're even saying that is now in the possession or has been in the possession of the feds. That's not good. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Hold on, guys. Let's do that. Okay. But moving on. Finally, the declarations raise additional questions that cannot fully and accurately be answered except through discovery and an evidentiary hearing. As just one example, despite reporting the prosecutors that he personally took photographs of Diddy's notes, redacted, the declarations are inconsistent with each other, omit key details, rely extensively on hearsay, and are remarkably vague as to key points. The truth will only be fully revealed if the government's claims can be tested through cross-examination of witnesses who have actual knowledge of the material facts. Likewise, the court cannot fashion appropriate remedies without the complete information that can only be discovered through such a hearing. So let's move on. The government misrepresented the facts and tried to conceal the constitutional violations. So, A, SDNY prosecutors, not the BOP, directed the search. So, the declarations contradict the government's prior representations concerning the reasons for the search and who directed it. The government previously claimed that the MDC sweep was planned by prison officials well in advance of Diddy's arrest, was motivated solely by legitimate penological interest, and did not target Mr. Combs. It further claimed, quote unquote, no one on the case team supervised, conducted, or participated in the search. That could be very bad. And that the search was organized and executed primarily by BOP staff. These claims are essentially to the government's opposition, which rested on the notion that prison officials are presumed to do their best to evaluate and monitor objectively the security needs of the institution, including in deciding whether a search is necessary. But these claims were false. The truth is that the search of Combs' unit apparently was not even part of the BOP's original plan for the sweep, but it was SDNY supervisors, including the trial team's own unit chief, Supervisor 1, who ultimately directed the search. The search was conducted not for legitimate institutional security reasons, but because Supervisor 1 was interested in searching Mr. Combs. I got to do it. That's insane. Okay? That's insane. These are some serious allegations, guys. Long story short, serious allegations. Now, I do also want to remind you, when they talk about, oh yeah, this was a targeted attack, before they said, oh no, this was a search on many prisons. That's what they said. They said that they went to many different prisons and they did many searches because of they were trying to get rid of all the violence, get rid of contraband and violent weapons and all that stuff. MDC is notorious for being a very dangerous jail, very dangerous prison. Okay. So they took him into MDC, a not so great place. It's notoriously known for being unsafe. And they put him in there. They have this sweep. They have this search. And they put it behind, this is what they're saying, put it behind the guise of a kind of like a regional massive prison search where they're just going to gut it all out and expose and get rid of all the contraband and all the nasty weapons and maybe substances and get them all out of these prisons. When in actuality, all they were trying to do was get into Diddy's cell. And they're also saying that one of the people who happened to be on team feds was also spearheading this search in the MDC and was specifically interested and solely interested in getting into Diddy's cell. Like I said, this is some wild-ish, okay? This is some wild stuff. And if they can prove this without a shadow of a doubt, then yeah, defense has then the prosecution has some explaining to do. They do, all right? But at the same time, could it be them just moving the goalposts and just creating a narrative for their own sake? That's possible too. I don't put anything past Diddy's team. I really don't, okay? But if they have something that sticks, prosecution will definitely have some explaining to do for show. Let's move on. Specifically, on the morning of the second day of the sweep, representatives from BOP and other federal agencies met to discuss, quote unquote, a potential search of Diddy's unit. Oh, snap. The agencies had not previously decided whether such a search was necessary and, quote unquote, inquired into the position of the USAO-SDNY regarding the potential search. Supervisor 2, an SDNY unit chief who helped plan the MDC sweep and was present during the sweep, then discussed with Supervisor 1 whether Mr. Combs, Diddy's unit, should be searched. Supervisor 1 stated that it should be searched, quote unquote, in part because of what the prosecution team had learned regarding Diddy's conduct at the MDC. Supervisor 1 conferred with SDNY's senior leadership and relayed to Supervisor 2 that Diddy's unit should indeed be searched, which Supervisor 2 further relayed to the BOP, leading to the search. Thus, while USA Slavic claims no SDNY personnel directed how the search of Diddy's unit would be conducted, she can't deny that SDNY supervisors directed the search itself. That flatly contradicts the government's prior representations. Wow. B, Investigator 1 was searching for evidence and not contraband. The declaration also contradicts the government's prior narrative concerning its relationship with Investigator 1 and his motivations. The government previously claimed, quote unquote, the case team's investigation and the BOP investigation have operated independently, and that Investigator 1 was merely searching for, quote unquote, contraband, not evidence during the sweep. These declarations show that both of these claims were false. Let me just say this before we get into this. You mean to tell me that like the way I see it is like, hey, if you go in and you happen to find some stuff while you're in there, hey, mazel tov. That's just that's what I see. Hey, we're going to do a sweep of everything. We're going to look for contraband. But if we find some stuff while we are searching through people's cells, so be it. It just is what it is. Can't the prosecution use that as a reason? Like I said, this ain't a hotel. This ain't his private domicile. Okay, this ain't his home. His rights are completely diminished while he is behind bars. Let's keep it a bean. So if they decide to go and raid his cell just on a whim, then they can go in and raid his cell just on a whim. And if they happen to stumble upon evidence, then they stumble upon evidence. Like, here's the thing. We've already had this conversation before, but we're gonna take a quick trip down memory lane. The phone calls he makes, those are in the possession and those are owned by the prison. The emails that he sends out, the text messages that he sends out through these digital things that they have set up for, these things that they have set up for these prisoners. All of it is they own that stuff. They have every right to go through anything that they want. Doesn't matter if it's his dirty drawers or if it's legal paperwork, if it's paperwork on legal pads. It doesn't matter. If they happen to go into a room and they're like, hey, we're trying to make sure you guys don't have any type of contraband and all that stuff, and they stumble upon notes and contraband maybe at the same time, where's the violation? I don't see it. Now, I could see that if this is true with this investigator, that's not a great look. It's not, because that means that prosecution in the state or the feds could be lying if this is true, that this was all one orchestrated, targeted attack just to get into Diddy's room, which would be insane. If that is the case, then yes, prosecution has some splaining to do. But at the same time, they can still lean on the fact that, hey, first off, he's not in the hotel room. He has no real rights, okay? Like I said, no real rights. They can go in there and get whatever the hell they want, if that's the case. They can go listen to any phone call that they want. If now, whoever listened to those phone calls and those phone calls that were made with his lawyer were sent to the prosecution, that's bad and illegal. So that's not good either. So again, could this mean if they're able to prove this without a shadow of a doubt, could this mean that he could walk? Woo, then it's a possibility that he could walk. Most definitely. Most definitely. If they can prove this stuff, but at the same time, like I said, they need a lot to prove. They need a whole lot. Okay? But let's move on. In fact, the government and Investigator One worked in a coordinated fashion for at least 2 weeks leading up to the MDC search. And the trial team encouraged Investigator One to monitor Mr. Combs' communications. BOP quote-unquote personnel contacted Supervisor One on October 10, 2024, to inform her that Investigator One was monitoring Diddy's communication and found relevant evidence. That date is significant because it was 10 days after Diddy filed his widely publicized notice of appeal concerning the detention order, and the same day the court invited the defense to make a renewed bail application. Notably, the SDNY supervisors on this case have been present for all court appearances in this matter, including that October 10th conference. Then we got redaction. He spoke with USA Slavic on several other occasions in October and November 2024, although USA Slavic never specifies when or in what capacity these conversations took place or what was discussed. Investigator One clearly became an agent of the prosecution team. Like I said, you need to show proof of how this person, this agent, became part of the prosecution team. Okay. He collected, screened, and shared evidence while collaborating with a trial team prosecutor. And the fruits of his investigation were ultimately used by the government to try to detain Mr. Combs, Diddy. He made a point of alerting them to Diddy's plans to discredit possible witnesses and find dirt on people. See, now so in other words, you're showing proof positive. That's what's so funny. Okay. He made a point of alerting the prosecution to Diddy's plans to discredit witnesses and fighting dirt on people. So in other words, yeah, you're basically saying that part is true. In other words, court defense strategy protected by the Sixth Amendment, unrelated to any legitimate penological concerns. Again, to me, that shows proof positive. Again, shows proof positive that Diddy was really trying to expose and discredit witnesses and find dirt on people. Just saying. And the prosecutors have used the information Investigator 1 illegally obtained in various ways. We cannot know the full extent of the improper uses of the fruits of the search without a hearing. But for example, blah, redacted. Crazy. And despite the government's claims that Investigator 1 was monitoring Diddy because of purported violations of BOP policy, Diddy has not once been disciplined or even asked by the MDC to stop engaging in the cited conduct. If Investigator 1's surveillance was genuinely undertaken solely for penological purposes, why does it seem that the fruits of his work have only been used by prosecutors and not the BOP itself? Now, I'm kind of curious if they are true, if they are saying something that is accurate here. I'm wondering about that too then. If they're telling the truth there, if they're not lying, that's a good question. Why hasn't he been reprimanded for the wrongdoings that he's alleged of doing? But at the same time, maybe they're sitting there going, well, he's had enough ridicule by the court of public opinion, so F it. I don't know, but it is a bit weird. If that's the case, that is a bit weird. I will say that. Clearly, Investigator 1 searched for Mr. Combs' notes during the sweep to find evidence for the prosecutors. He was not searching for purported contraband, as the government previously represented to the court. Then some redaction. Moreover, Slavic states that the BOP was looking for narcotics, weapons, and electronic devices, none of which could possibly be found in the pages of Diddy's notes. The contraband excuse was thus clearly a pretext for the unlawful search. Again, you can sit there and say, hey, we are here trying to find contraband. You walk into that cell and you find other stuff whilst you are in the search for contraband. That is possible. Let's be real. That is very possible. So again, they're going to have to do a lot of work to show proof positive that this is exactly what they were trying to do. The government did not proceed in good faith and took no steps to avoid violating Mr. Combs' rights. So, the declarations confirm that the government has, via Investigator 1, consistently monitored Mr. Combs' privileged communications with his attorneys. In its opposition to the defense motion, the government claimed it made quote unquote good faith efforts to avoid coming into contact with privileged material, and that it is quote unquote contrary to facts and logic to suggest Investigator 1 was its informant in the defense camp. But it turns out Investigator 1 has been spying on the defense team all along. Investigator one, thus, there's a bunch of redaction. So then anyway, Investigator one thus repeatedly informed the trial team he was eavesdropping on privileged communications, but the trial team never instructed him to stop. That is outrageous. Worse, the trial team endorsed his conduct by requesting the communications at issue. Accordingly, the government has obtained and produced to the defense over 30 of the defense's own calls with Diddy. That is an egregious breach of Diddy's rights, and the court should immediately order the government and BOP to cease any such spying on the defense camp. Holy crap. Holy crap. Hamburger indeed, Medusa. Hamburger. Woo! Okay. Like I said, if they got this proof, this is bad. Prosecution got a lot of splaining to do. Oh my God. The declarations show that further discovery and a hearing are required. The Slavic declaration is permeated with unverified hearsay and lacks crucial details. So the Slavic declaration is largely based on unsworn hearsay, much of which is vague and raises more questions than it answers. For example, the discussion between the unidentified BOP personnel and the supervisor one on October 10th, 2024 lacks any detail. Important questions remain. Who are the BOP personnel? What was said? Why was Supervisor 1 contacted seemingly out of the blue by the BOP? And how did the BOP know who to contact? Based on the chain of events, it is likely the BOP had standing orders from Supervisor 1 or other SDNY personnel to monitor Mr. Combs and report his conduct or report on his conduct. When were such orders given and why? Where, I guess they're saying, were there other communications leading up to this call? AUSA Slavic also fails to share what she personally discussed and when with Investigator 1. She merely states, I spoke with Investigator 1 on several occasions in October and November 2024. But again, glaring questions remain as to what was said and what expectations arose from these communications. Then we got some redaction. The declaration further references, without describing, multiple conversations and meetings involving BOP personnel, certain SDNY personnel, and other government officials. It references multiple other conversations and meetings between Supervisor 2 and Supervisor 1, during which these supervisors specifically discussed Diddy. There are also references to conversations between Supervisor 1 and SDNY, quote-unquote, senior leadership. Eesh. The court's consideration of Diddy's motion should not be based on such rank, nondescript hearsay. Further discovery and testimony from these individuals is required. Shoot. As just one more example, the Slavic declaration states Investigator 1, quote unquote, provided a high-level overview of the contents of the BOP notes, including the defendant's plans to discredit possible witnesses and find dirt on people. What specifically did Investigator 1 say? What witnesses were identified? And what else was communicated regarding the notes? Perhaps directing Investigator 1 to provide the photographs of the filter team in the first instance. In the first instance, provided some cover for the case team. But if the quote-unquote high-level overview revealed the substance of those notes, it is not a legitimate way to ensure that the case team was not tainted by access to privileged information about Diddy's defense. I'm going to reread that sentence again. Perhaps directing Investigator 1 to provide the photographs to the filter team in the first instance provided some cover for the case team. But if the high-level overview revealed the substance of the notes, it is not a legitimate way to ensure that the case team was not tainted by access to privileged information. Okay, so in other words, they're saying that this filter team, they also call it the taint team, all right? But they say the filter team is the people who are going through all the photographs, all the evidence, and basically all the things that were found in his cell. And they're going, okay, can the defense see this? Can the prosecution see this? Can the prosecution not see this? So on and so forth, right? And that's basically what they're saying. They're basically saying, well, that doesn't mean that they might have accidentally or given them the stuff anyway. Just because they had a filter team does not mean that they filtered everything, okay? Which is interesting. Again, crazy. B. Hold on. Yeah. B. Investigator 1's declaration lacks important details. Curiously, in contrast to the Slavic declaration, Investigator 1's declaration nowhere states that he described the contents of Diddy's notes to AUSA Slavic. Why the inconsistency? And what is he hiding? Inconsistencies like this undermine the credibility of the declaration and further underscore the need for a hearing. Yeah, I have a feeling there's going to be another hearing coming soon. I definitely feel like there's going to be another hearing, for sure. Indeed, it is clear Investigator 1 previously misled prosecutors by telling them he took the photographs of Diddy's notes. That is apparently not true. Yet Investigator 1's declaration still fails to identify the individual who actually took the photographs. Who is this person? What did he do with the photographs? Who else saw them? And did the government have any communications with this individual? Did the government ever interview that individual before filing its response to Diddy's motion or to comply with the court order to file the declarations? C, the prosecution team also includes Supervisor 1, 2, and this SDNY senior leadership. The government uses a severely limited definition of prosecution team, quote unquote, in an attempt to withhold critical information and dodge accountability. But as explained in Diddy's motion, the rights at issue proscribe unlawful searches by government actors, generally including any BOP or USAO employees, not just searches carried out by the case team. In any case, the prosecution team is defined by the Second Circuit, plainly includes the SDNY supervisors and the quote-unquote senior leadership. It includes, for example, the prosecutor's office generally. U.S. versus Alvalino, which we're going to skip that. An individual prosecutor is presumed to have knowledge of all information gathered in connection with his office's investigation of the case. Supervisor 1 and Supervisor 2, as well as SDNY's senior leadership, are not far-flung members of the executive branch or employed by a different office of the government. These individuals regularly observe the proceedings in this case and supervise and sign off on the trial team's investigative activities and trial strategy. The court should order discovery and declarations from these individuals and eventually take their testimony at a hearing. D, the government should produce the emails and other evidence. The government mentions email communications, and the MDC is wired with surveillance cameras that recorded the relevant search. The court should order the production of this evidence and any other evidence in the government's possession relevant to the motion. It is the most reliable means of testing the government's dubious claims. Now, let me say this too. I agree. This is one part that I'm going to agree with for sure. Okay? I think that would be very, very important that they do show the evidence. They show the surveillance of the raid. I'm going to keep it real. I think it's incredibly imperative that they bring out the surveillance cameras, the surveillance video, and they bring it to them. Show it all. Don't hide anything. Make the defense shut the hell up. Because these claims, these are some serious claims. They're basically saying that there were supervisors involved. All of this was fully targeted. The investigator that was involved in the search of the actual cells and the people that took these photos all were working in tandem with each other to take down or to expose Diddy even more. And if any of this stuff ever, like these phone calls that he had with his attorneys, etc., if any of that ever leaked over to the prosecution, then that is violation on top of violations on top of violations for sure. This is very bad. If they get this, if they can prove this right, this could be very, very bad for prosecution. All the work that they've been doing over the past several months, maybe years, stacking things up against Diddy, all of it can come crumbling down because of a technicality or because of them moving the goalpost themselves. Because of them cutting corners and doing things illegally. But in my mind, I'm like, I don't see, I mean, let's be real. We know about the government, all right? Okay, let's be real. We know about the government. But you'd think you don't want to have somebody walk because of a technicality or because you broke the law. The ones that are supposed to be upholding the law are the ones who are actually breaking the law. That's insane. I mean, it's not uncommon, but it would be insane for something like this. You got a guy who is locked up right now, and if he gets out because you cut a tiny bit of a corner that you shouldn't have cut because you didn't cross your T's and dot your lowercase J's on that legal documents, that's embarrassing. So if that is the truth, this is bad. But I also believe that, yes, where are the surveillance cameras? Where are all the documents and all the written pieces of paperwork from the supervisors, from the investigator one and all that? Bring all of that to the surface. Show it all. Show warts and all and be done with it. That's what I say. Because at the end of the day, you don't want a criminal to walk just because of some stupid ass technicality or because you guys got a little bit too grubby, a little bit too greedy and trying to get your grubby little hands on more stuff, trying to expose Diddy even more. When you could have just waited for him to mess up because he's been sloppy. He was sloppy before. He's not sloppy now, at least not yet. So this could be very, very bad on the prosecution side. And then all of this could be for nothing. And do they want that? Do they really? I don't know. But let's continue. Instead, and this is the last piece, okay? But instead of sharing the full story, the government has cherry-picked a few facts and submitted declarations that undermine the credibility of its previous submissions, omit key facts, and raise numerous important questions about what really happened. A full hearing in which Diddy's counsel are afforded the opportunity to cross-examine the government actors with knowledge of the facts relevant to the search is the only way to find the true facts and understand the full picture so the court can assess how best to remedy this grave violation of Diddy's constitutional rights. Diddy therefore respectfully requests that the court order the government to produce the additional discovery described in this letter, as well as whatever communication it has already shared with the court in camera, and hold a hearing. And then, of course, respectfully submitted. Again, if they're able to succeed, I mean, this is a successful letter. There's no question about that. This is a very successful letter. I can see another hearing happening very, very soon. But I also can see, here's the thing. The feds have no other choice but to release the footage and show everything. That's literally what's going to happen. They have no other choice but to do that. No other choice but to do exactly that. And I mean, what say you guys? I know apparently the chat is being funky today or tonight. It is a Saturday night, so the freaks come out at night, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I am kind of curious what you think. I mean, do you think that the defense has this right, or do you think it's not? Do you think they don't have the right? I'm kind of curious about that. But I do feel like it could be them just trying to find something. I mean, clearly they've been trying to find anything. They've been throwing ish at the wall and trying to see if it's going to stick. They've thrown everything at the wall. They're trying to get something to stick. Could it be that there's a newbie to the game that came in and was working in tandem with the prosecution? That's possible. Okay. But I am kind of curious about that. Do they have a solid argument here? Or are they just trying to move the goalpost like they've been doing since the day he got locked up? I'm curious about that. But let me see some of your comments here real quick. Yeah, y'all wilding out. Saturday night, everybody tired. Everybody trying to don't read chat. Yeah, I'm just looking. Y'all are wilding out. Okay. Bill just said, and thanks so much for the comment. At this point, anything is possible. I'm on the fence. I think I'm on the fence as well as far as this goes. I truly believe that Diddy did some things, and Diddy did that. Maybe not all the allegations, maybe not all the lawsuits, all the civil lawsuits that are coming towards him. I don't think he did every single last one of them. I really don't. But I do believe that he did a good portion of them for sure. What the feds have on him, I really do think that the feds have something solid on him. I don't think that this just came out of nowhere and the feds are just making this stuff up just so they can take Diddy down. No, I think that they found some stuff and it's been very, very bad. Now, are they doing everything to the T? Are they doing everything by note? I don't know. They could have played a little bit of jazz and try to get around certain things as best as they could, just so they can get their guy. That's possible too. It's the same thing I look at Brian Kohberger, right? Now, if you haven't been following the Brian Kohberger situation, the Idaho 4 case, they are his team. Brian Kohberger's team is trying to do everything they can to throw out the DNA that they found in his home that is connecting him to everything in regards to the Idaho 4. Now, there's been a lot of stuff that's been said in that Idaho 4 case as of late, especially in this hearing that they just had over the past couple days. It's very revealing. A lot of stuff that's been said that's like, whoa, that's interesting. And she said this instead of that, and there's just new things that are being said. But one thing is for sure, they're basically trying to say, hey, they broke the law. They broke the law when they went and tried to get Brian Koberger. And again, I look at that and I go, well, did they really bend the rules? Or did they do everything by note, to the note? And of course, their teams like Diddy's and Brian Koberger's teams are just trying to find anything under the sun to make an excuse. I guess that's something that obviously needs to be answered at some point. We all got questions, right? But there is something that just is a bit interesting about this. We see the thing with Brian Koberger. We see the thing with Diddy as well. And that both teams are going, hey, I'm trying everything. They're trying everything they can to try to get their client off. And that's never good. But it does make it worse if prosecution is cutting corners. If they cut corners, these people can just walk, y'all. And that could be very, very bad. Okay. I just saw a question. Where is it? Whitney. Are you going to watch the Idaho 4 trial this year together? Yes, of course. Hell yeah. That's going to be the trial of the year. That's going to be a massive trial. I'm not missing that one. Okay. We covered that ad nauseum when it first came out. Okay. We covered every single step. Yes, I'll be covering that for sure. When it gets on camera, when it actually is something that's massive, because I know everybody has been watching like the hearing that just happened a couple days ago. Everybody's been really big on that, and I was like, well, I'll just wait for the bullet points and get, because I'm more interested in the actual trial. If he walks out on a technicality, we definitely need to talk about that. That's for sure. That's a massive piece of information, and that's a massive turn of events on such a huge trial and a huge case. But as far as this goes, I'm like, no, the judge is responding the exact same way I would have responded. Okay, there is definitely a reason. There was definitely motive, or there was definitely a reason or a means for them to go into his home. Okay, it's not like they just went into his house on a whim and a prayer, just hoping that he'd just be the bad guy. No, they had reason to get into his home, into his parents' home. I mean, the dude is operating in a weird fashion. All right, let's be real. Days after leading up to his arrest. Okay. Days after the unalivings leading up to his arrest. So for me, I'm like, nah, you can miss me with that nonsense. Real talk. You can miss me with that nonsense. And I think that the judge is on that same page as well. It's like, nah, and Taylor, keep trying to move the goalpost, but that's not going to work. And it's the same thing with this here too. Yet, I think that they have viable reasons, and I think they have a right to know everything. The defense. And if they're asking for all of the footage of this raid, show it. Because if the raid wasn't even a raid and it was just a bunch of, it was just investigator one going straight into Diddy's cell and only his cell, that would be really, really bad. But if it shows an actual raid, they can basically say, look, it's a standard raid. A ton of cells were searched. It wasn't just Diddy's cell. It was many, many cells that were searched. The only way they can prove that is through surveillance footage. The other thing, though, is too, I think is crucial as well, talking to that supervisor. 1, 2, that SDNY senior investigator. What was it called? What were they called? Senior leadership. Okay, that SDNY senior leadership. The investigator 1. All of those ones, right? All of them, all should be asked to come in and speak. And they should release all the documents, all the paperwork, because the only way that they're going to show proof positive that they did everything to a T is by showing full proof of them doing such. Because again, his defense, his team is going to do everything they can to throw everything on the wall to see if they can get him out on a technicality. And it could be just like it's like, this would not be good if he's able to slip through the cracks, slip through their fingers in this fashion. But again, what they're alleging here, if it is true, this is no bueno for prosecution. This gives prosecution a very, very bad look. And the prosecution does not want that, for sure. Anyway, guys, that is the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. It means a lot. You guys are all incredible on this very late Saturday night, but still wanted to share this with you guys. It's been a busy couple days. It's been a busy day. There's more stuff we're going to be looking at tomorrow morning, so get ready. We got a lot to talk about tomorrow, so be prepared because we got a show for you tomorrow. All right? But anyway, before you get going, guys, I appreciate you guys being here. Comment in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts are on this whole thing. Should they show everything? Is it none of their business? What's your thoughts? Hit that like button down below, okay? Don't forget to hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. If you are watching on those other platforms, make sure you hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button here on my main channel. Go to my secondary channel, The Pascal Show Clips. The Pascal Show Clips. Subscribe over there, please. All right? Don't forget, hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon and my locals. And of course, go and check out PascalMerch.com. All right? That'd be greatly, greatly appreciated. All right, guys, it is time to get going. I will see you guys tomorrow. We got some things to talk about. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. We'll talk soon. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.